Okay, grade 7, welcome back from your March break. Unfortunately, Thursday and Friday were storm days, so you didn't get a chance to write your test on Thursday like you were supposed to, but that's okay. This 9-fer that we're practicing right now, if you can do all of these questions on this 9-fer, you should be very successful with your final test tomorrow. Here we go with question 1. Question 1 says, which is larger, the perimeter or area of this triangle? So the perimeter is easy. All I have to do is take all three sides, which are these three numbers here, and add them together. So the perimeter of this triangle would be 10 plus 9 plus 7, which is 26 meters, not square meters, because perimeter is distance. So the distance around that triangle would be 25, not 26, I can't add, that's okay, 25 meters. Now the area, we need to use the formula. So base times height divided by 2, we should all know that now. The base is 10, and the height is the perpendicular distance from the base to the top of the triangle, or the apex. So that is a distance of 6 meters divided by 2, which would be 60 divided by 2, which would be 30 square meters. Which is larger, the number that represents the perimeter, which is 25, or area? The answer is area's number is bigger. It is 30 versus 25. I guess I did add them right anyway. It was 26. Who knew? The next question says the perimeter is equal to the area. Is that true or false? So the first thing I'm going to do is calculate the perimeter. So 10 plus 12 is 22. 22 plus 8 is 30. And 30 plus 3 is 60. So the perimeter would be 60, whatever they happen to be, meters or centimeters or whatever. And the area would be base times height divided by 2. The base is 12. The height is the perpendicular distance. So actually that side length is really the height as well, which is 120 divided by 2, which is 60. Are the perimeter and the area the same number? The answer is yes, they are. Question 3 says, what is the area of this? Well, this is our base, 8. Our base is 8, but if this is not the height is the distance perpendicularly from the apex to the base, and it's actually 11. So that would be 88 divided by 2. So the area would be 44 meters squared, or 44 centimeters squared, or 44. If you don't know, usually you say units squared. Now question 4 is an interesting one. It says, what is the area of the red? Okay, so bring it over here. So really what you needed to do is you needed to see the red without anything cut out as being that shape right there. And if I look at that shape, it would be a square, which is 10 by 10, which would mean the area is 100, we'll say meters squared, just to say meters or whatever. The next thing I need to do is figure out what is the, if I took this triangle by itself, do I know those two dotted lines? And I have to do a little bit of inferencing. If this whole bottom is 10 because it's a square, and this is 2, and this is 2, that means that this number here must be 6. This number here, I know to be 10. So my area of my triangle is the formula base times height divided by 2, which is 6 times 10 divided by 2, which is going to be 30 meters squared. So the area of this triangle that was cut out was 30 meters squared worth of space, cut out from a square which was 100 meters squared. Therefore, the final answer is the area of the remaining red would be 70 square meters of area. Okay? How many of you got that one, just out of curiosity? Most of you, that's good. The next question says, gives you a parallelogram, or poorly drawn parallelogram, and a triangle. It says, are they the same area? Well, for the parallelogram, we know our formula is simply base times height, and for the triangle, it's base times height divided by 2. In the parallelogram, your base is 10, and your height is not 8. Your height is 10. Just like the triangle, the height is the perpendicular distance. So therefore, the area of the parallelogram is this. The triangle would be base of 20, height of 4 divided by 2, which would be 80 divided by 2, which would be 40 meters squared. Are they the same area? No, they are not. The answer is no. The next question is kind of a tricky one, but not really that bad. If I think of it as being two distinct shapes, I can think of it as being these two shapes right here. If I unjoin those, let's see if I can ungroup them. I have a triangle, and I have a square. So the square is really a 4 by 4, which means the area of the square is 16 meters squared. And since this is 4, but the whole distance is 7, that means that this bottom part of my triangle has to be 3. Because when I put them together, it made 7. And since that is 3 and this is 4, base times height would be 4 times 3 divided by 2, which is 12 divided by 2, which is 6 meters squared. So the area of the triangle part of that composite shape is 6 meters squared. So therefore, in total, the area of both parts put together is 22 units squared or meters squared. Okay? Your next question is your area of a house, the front of the house. So really, again, it's the exact same type of question. I have two shapes. I have a triangle and I have a square. If I think about the rectangle, excuse me, as being 5 by 6, the area of the front of the house without the door and window would be 30 meters squared. And since this whole height is 10 and this is 5, this here must also be 5 because 5 and 5 make 10. And this is 6. So our formula base times height divided by 2 is really 6 times 5 divided by 2, so which is going to be 15 meters squared. So my triangle part up top here, I'll redraw it again, is 15 meters squared. My rectangle part is 30 meters squared. So therefore, if there was nothing taken away from the front of the house, no door or window, the area of that front would be 45 meters squared. But there's a door here, which is 2 meters squared, and there is a window, which is 4 meters squared. So I have to take away 6 from 45, which means the entire front of that house that I have to paint, the answer to A, is 39 square meters have to be painted. Okay? That's what I have to paint. But the second part says, if one can of paint can do 11 square meters, how many cans should I buy? Well, 39 meters squared divided by 11 meters squared tells me 39 divided by 11 equals, I need to buy 3.5 cans. Now I can't buy half a can, it's impossible. So you have to buy 4 cans as the answer. But 4 cans multiplied by a cost of $34.50 each. So $34.50 multiplied by the 4 cans I have to buy. The final answer is $138 is the cost for painting the front of my house. Now we assume that there's no tax. I didn't say there was tax on it, but I might say there's tax on it in the test. So make sure if I do say that, you multiply it by 1.15 to calculate your tax with the 15% HST. And your final question is the little graph here. It just gives you the shape of a triangle. So you probably should draw it. The height is 10. The base is 2. So 2 times 10 divided by 2 will be 10 meters squared is the area, or 10 units squared. Parallelogram. Base is 5. Height is 5. So therefore, base times height is your formula. So the area would be 25 meters squared. And finally, the last one, your base is 2.5 and your height is 10. So 2.5 times 10 divided by 2 is 25 divided by 2. The area of this triangle would be 12.5 meters squared.